The final event to bring the curtains down on the celebration of Caricom's 50th anniversary was a press conference, during which the heads of states fielded pertinent questions from regional journalists.
Caricom is 50, and could you, for the benefit of the Caribbean public, help us to evaluate how effective to, in effect, grade Caricom over the last 50 years on the big headline issues: free movement of skills, free movement in terms of travel, and all the other big headline issues. I understand it's a broad sweep, but 50 is a great time to reflect in such a manner.
The heads have agreed that we are now moving beyond just the freedom of movement of skills to freedom of movement of people. Out of an abundance of caution and to be sure-footed, there are some aspects of the treaty that will require amendment, and therefore we are giving ourselves between now and the 30th of March 2024 to make the amendments, because we recognize as well that there may have to be an approach that does not put countries or make countries liable to any form of suit with respect to some of the rights. So there has to be a minimum set of rights guaranteed for the movement of citizens. That will be discussed and agreed upon. In a very real sense, this is what ordinary people want. And I want to say something. In a region that is underpopulated, and in a region that is facing the most difficult crises, from climate to recovery from pandemic to debt to all kinds of other problems, if ever there was a time that we need to come together as one, it is now. And Prime Minister Skerritt was correct in saying that this conference reflected a mood of can-do and optimism, but realistic execution will ground us, and that is why we have fashioned it in the way that we have.
The issue of freedom of movement of people and skilled workers was of particular interest.
If I may be permitted a follow-up, Mr. Robertson, how big and broad do you intend to go beyond the limited category of workers now afforded those, if you like, privileges?
Mr. Gordon, I don't think you're understanding us, you know. Mm-hmm. Freedom of movement of people. So it's all, A-L-L. There's no services anymore.
All right.
And that's why you saw heads clap when the Prime Minister announced it, because this now gives full expression to what every Caribbean person has wanted since we've had control of our destiny.
Right.
Okay? What we want to do, however, is to ensure that when that movement takes place, that it takes place in a way that is orderly, that is effective, that gives true expression to what we want to do, but equally does not expose governments unnecessarily to problems that they would not otherwise have anticipated.
This was not the only urgent concern raised by the region's media, calling for answers into a recent dark cloud cast over the RSS and impacts.
I'm staying on the topic of free movement to live and work. Of course, Prime Minister Skerritt, in your opening statement, you did mention possibly more reliance on the regional security system and, of course, the implementation agency for crime and security impacts. But, of course, a few months ago, we know that these two agencies came under very much question, with one judge describing, with what one judge described as the kidnapping of TNT national Brent Thomas. Caricom citizens are somewhat still in the dark as to what exactly happened, how these two agencies were activated. Some are alleging unauthorized use of these agencies and alleged abuse of power. Did this fumble at all arise during your discussions? And of course, how can citizens be assured that this may not recur? Thank you.
Well, I don't think we can respond to this. Impacts and all of the security architecture, we believe that we accept and we know that they're operating within the laws of the countries. And they have served us well. And I think where we have to be very careful that we as politicians, whether we're in government or out of government, that we do not make statements that are not factual, and in order to seek to score political points. We have to be very careful that we don't unnecessarily put into question these institutions that are serving us well, especially where our own security within the region is concerned. So I do not subscribe to what you're saying, and therefore I cannot respond to your specific question with the allegations that have been made where impacts and others are concerned.
The closing ceremony of the 45th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of Caricom was held on Wednesday, July 5th. The main agenda of Caricom is a march towards regional integration and building shared prosperity among its 15 member states.